Welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
And good morning, everybody. And we are starting slightly late compared to what we normally do. It's not too bad because of life happening. For once, it wasn't my fault.
No, it was my wife who forgot her badge, and I had to go run it back to her.
Yeah, well, that's good of you to do that. You know, I don't blame them. I don't blame you whatsoever. But yeah, we were only a few minutes late though. That's not too shabby. We are going to be getting started. We caused a ruckus with this one.
Oh yeah. So
one thing we like to do.
Realize today's another top 8 debate, and we are going to be talking about two-player games. We were specifically looking for two-player only games or a variant, and I'll explain what that is here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people were like, well, we'd rather play this with two players.
Yeah. Like people were saying like Carcassonne and like different other games. It's like, well, that's 2 to 4. Yeah, but I prefer 2. It's like, but that's not what we're asking here.
Yeah.
You know, and
so we're going to go
fine.
over what everybody said, but yeah, it caused a bit of a stir.
Yeah,
if you will.
And it wasn't like so much controversy, but I noticed a lot of people had to justify why they were putting that on there because I think they knew what we were ultimately intending.
Yeah.
But we had 61 entries. I put my normal top 8 like always, but people added in. I guess that makes it 53 additional entries into the poll. Each one with at least one vote. So, yeah, this got a great response. I can't wait to talk about some of these, and then we'll talk about our top 8 as well. But this is going to be a doozy.
I'm just going through it really quick, and I'm trying to see if any of my honorable mentions were mentioned, and it doesn't look like it.
I believe one of mine is. One of my honorable mentions is mentioned below, but we'll see. So, as always, let's clarify. I haven't even looked
through the comments. I was just looking at the games that they had on there, and none of my honorable mentions are on there.
All right, I'm curious now. One thing that we want to clarify, too, is as always when we pick this list, my dog alarm is going off as usual. But as always, when we get this list, we go...
How's it going, Canadian Collector?
Hey, Canadian Collector. We take the top 8 highest-ranked two-player only games on Board Game Geek that Daniel and I have both played. And if we played like maybe half of once, then it still doesn't count. But we have to have both a good argument for it. So, for example, Lost Cities is ranked pretty high up here. You technically haven't played Lost Cities.
No, I've only played Lost Cities, the board game.
Which I would argue is almost the same thing. It does handle better.
But it's not two players.
But it's not 2 players, right. Yeah, that one goes up to 4. But it's ultimately the same experience. But in good conscience, we can't choose that one. So, with that being said, Lost Cities is probably our highest voted 2-player game on here, and I love the game, although it's not in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of quickly scanning through the comment sections. I think for once, my honorable mentions aren't the popular ones.
Yeah, probably not. Well, we're going to see. I mean, I don't think most of mine were said. I think 1 or 2 of them, but let's find out. Yep. So, you ready to jump into the list?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so let's look at the ones that were added by other users. The first one, the highest one with 15 votes, was Lost Cities, and that is absolutely a phenomenal 2-player game.
Your app is behind.
Huh?
Your app is behind.
Did it get voted for?
Not Jaipur. Lost Cities has 17 votes.
Oh, 17. Okay, so then I won't even say how many votes there are. I just loaded this up like maybe 20 minutes ago. So if it has more votes, then that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's sitting at 17 votes, but yes, it's Lost Cities.
Cool. All right, so Lost Cities. I mean, you like the board game.
It was okay. It's just, to me, it's a lot of math.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The board game actually helps you with that because the scores are on the track itself. The 2-player version, it's a lot easier. I like the back and forth better. It's not a tug-of-war thing in any way. But you have to math it out. You have to add all the numbers, then subtract 20, then multiply by the multipliers. Then that's your score for that row of 5. So I can understand the annoyance with those. Do you want to talk over the next one, or bring up the next one?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. It looks like our stream is freezing a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to let everybody know we are aware of it, and we are working as best as we can on it. The next one I have here is Dice Thrones.
Dice Throne, yeah.
At 12 votes. I mean, yeah, it is a 2-player game, but it's one of those games that you can play up to 4 people.
Yeah, we're going to be clarifying that a lot with some of these games. A lot of them are like 2 or 4. Like Magic the Gathering technically is a 4-player game, right? And then
is it?
Just like, it can be, absolutely. You can hit the people. Like on the left, or like if you're playing Commander, it's 4-player. There's a lot of ways that you can play 4-player. In Dice Throne, like I don't play that 4-player. It's dumb. It's a 2-player game. Like most head-to-head battle games are a 2-player.
Yeah, so just again for everybody in our audience that's watching us live, we are aware that streaming is an issue. It's what happens when we live in the middle of a desert and don't have a good internet connection.
Yep, I already turned off my Wi-Fi, but I have kids and they need entertainment as well. So, our next one is Santorini, which is absolutely a phenomenal...
No. Our next one is Twilight Struggle.
Oh, did that jump up? Okay, well, I'm going to go by my list. You just skip accordingly, okay? Santorini is a good game. Let me tell you why. No,
yeah, it is. You can't see it. It's like literally right behind my back.
Yeah, mine is a shelf over and a shelf down from here. Yeah, we both own it. We both like it a lot. It's a really cool game, and it's actually kind of an older one that was reprinted.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully reprinted at that.
Which, back to back, we have, I forget the company's name, but Dice Throne and Santorini are the same company. Roxley,
yeah. They also do other big games like Brass.
Yeah.
Dice Thrones, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the next one in the list, which was the one that you were bringing up that's now not the next one on the list.
Twilight Struggle. I'm not too familiar with it. I know it's a 2-player version or is Twilight Struggle? Because there's also Twilight Squabble. Is Twilight Squabble like the...
So Twilight Squabble is the micro game version of it. It has like 18 cards and some tokens. Like, it was made by AEG as like a joke, kind of. But it's a solid game, actually. It's pretty decent. But that's like the micro version of Twilight Struggle, which holds the record of being one of the #1 games on Board Game Geek for a long time.
It's something that I'm interested in just for the simple fact that it's a historical aspect. It's about the Cold War and stuff like that, so it's something I've always enjoyed.
Yeah. I have the Steam version, and I've been wanting to play it. I just haven't gotten it to the table yet. Or to the screen, I guess, technically.
Screen. So,
next
Canadian
one.
Collector is saying that he hopes Patchwork and Bottom of the Ninth makes the list. We'll have to see.
Point. We'll find out.
Could also be some people's honorable mentions here.
War of the Ring is the next one listed, added by Nick. Got 8 votes according to my delayed thing.
8.
Is it confirmed on yours? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, that was mine.
So the next one on my list is Star Wars Rebellion. That has 7 votes on my list, and I have it up there. That's my that top shelf right there is my shelf of shame.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to get a 2-player large game like that to the table. I want to. I love Star Wars, and it's one of my get to the tables. It's just, again, especially with the way lockdown has happened.
Right.
Can't really get it to the table. Me and a buddy who also owns it, we're trying to plan on getting it in, and then we got locked down. And no, I do not have the original Kickstarter version of Santorini. I have the Spin Masters version. It was a birthday gift for my wife.
Same here, yeah. The next one here is Patchwork. Uwe Rosenberg.
There you go, Canadian Collector.
Patchwork, I think it would have been on our list had you played it, right? I think that
it would have been on our list if I played it.
Yeah, that would have been our second seed, actually. And, oh my god, yeah, I love Patchwork. It's really good. I'm going to tell you right now, that was one of my honorable mentions. It's
all right,
really
you can talk about it a little bit when we get to our honorable mentions.
You got it.
All right. So, the next one on my list is one that I get why people put it on the list, and it's Marvel Legendary at 5 votes.
Yeah.
But there's going to be others that are going to be on the list that are specifically made for 2, but they can go up to 4, and we'll explain. The Star Wars Rebellion being one of them. It's specifically a 2-player game, but it goes to 4. And the big component of that and changing of that is that you get to you split the armies, and that's the big thing. So it's basically made to be 2-player. Marvel Legendaries is not made to be 2 players.
No, it's 1 to 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. So, when we get to those, we'll just skip over them. So, why don't you take the next one?
Codenames Duet?
Codenames Duet, yeah. This was intended to be a 2-player game.
But does have co-op rules where you can play as teams.
Yeah, but really, it's, oh my goodness, it's phenomenal. I love Codenames Duet. It's my favorite version.
I have a bunch of codenames behind me. I got Duet, Marvel, Disney.
Yeah.
Haven't got the Harry Potter one yet.
Yet. Yet being the key word. Here, I gotta do a quick pause. Hold on for 1 minute. You are on mute. Hold on. My kids had to show me their competition for. They were having a drawing competition right now, and so a little preface real quick, and we can edit this out. But what happened is, the past couple days have been very stressful for my wife because my kids have stopped interrupting my podcast, which is, good on my end. But she's the one who makes money, so they were interrupting her instead for really silly superfluous things. And so I was like, guys, it doesn't matter if I'm filming, you got to talk to me. Not can't interrupt mommy. And so I apologize about that break.
Yeah, you apologize for it. I got a lot of work now.
Yeah, hey, it's all right. I had a lot of work waiting for you. That's not true. All right, Codenames Duet, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Our next one, the one that's listed here, is Exit Series. Any of the escape rooms. Yeah, they can get a little filled with more than 2 players, but
yeah, I'm okay with it at 4. Anything above that, just people are not able to do stuff. Not a lot of people can get to the table. So, but yeah, this is not made. You could solo that if you wanted to.
Yes, absolutely. But the next one, Imhotep the Duel, is definitely a 2-player game.
Definitely a 2-player game.
I haven't played it.
It is a re-implementation of Imhotep.
Yep. Nick added that in. It looks phenomenal. I have 4 votes on my end. I've been researching it. I want it. I will probably buy it soon.
So, Canadian Collector, I play a lot of games with 2 players, but a lot of them scale up to 4 or 5, though. I think I only have maybe 5 games, which are 2-player only. Yeah, I don't have a lot of 2-player strictly games on my shelf over here, just because my wife doesn't game as much as she used to. She'd rather, play video games or veg on watching Supernatural or something like that.
I have about 30.
So, the next one on our list is Race/Roll for the Galaxy. Again, another one that plays pretty good.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Go ahead and go to the next.
Skull Hollow. That is a 2-player game that we actually got to talk with Keith Mateka about.
Yeah, I don't.
So, Canadian Collector says he thinks Daniel should have a vote in the contest too.
Yeah, well, I mean, we technically our vote is the fact that
our vote is the debate.
is confined with ours. Yeah.
Right,
the next one on my list is Hive, which is absolutely a 2-player game.
I haven't played.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. I think you would like it. The way it works is there are hexagonal tiles, and you have either white or black bugs, and they move in different ways to try and surround the queen.
I've seen it. I've looked at it. Almost bought a copy. Just I haven't played it. Again, 2-player games just don't get played a lot at my house, especially during this There's one 2-player game that is on my list that my wife is willing to work.
Yeah, that's fair. Right.
Next one on our list is War Chest, and I'll go ahead and let you talk about this because you know this better than me.
Yeah, War Chest is a 2 or 4 player game, 2v2 or 1v1, and yeah, no, it's pool building with poker chips basically, and you're trying to control 6 of the available areas before your opponent does. And each one of the poker chips, the different kinds of units you have, battle in different ways. If you like stuff like chess, and you want something that's similar to it, but you also like stuff like pool building and deck building, that's a fantastic pick. I like it a lot.
Nice.
I liked it better than I thought I would.
Next on our list. We got to pump through these.
All right. Go for it.
Czar. Don't know it.
Czar. It's part of the Gift series. And yes. 100%. Yes. Czar is awesome. Othello.
Yeah, see, I don't like. I'm not a big fan of abstracts. There's a few that I'll actually play. Santorini, but yeah.
Yep.
Next is Morels.
Not familiar with
basically.
That one. Yeah.
Fields of Arl.
Yep. Uwe Rosenberg, 2-player goodness. Yep.
Don't know it.
I don't know much about it.
Not familiar with it.
We brought up Othello,
Raptor.
right?
Huh?
Yeah. We brought up Othello, right?
Yes, Othello. Oh no, we didn't. Othello.
Okay. Raptor, yeah. Raptor is an asymmetric 2-player game by Bruno Cathala, I think. One player is the dinosaurs, one's the scientist, trying to either
one's trying to protect
eggs.
the babies, the other one's trying to steal eggs.
Yep, exactly. It was pretty cool. It's a card playing game. Like, we use the same dual power cards.
I think that would be cool. I do want to try that one. That's one that's been on my list. Next on our list here is Watergate.
Still, it's not on my shelf of shame yet anymore because my son played it with me. But I want to play it with an experienced gamer, see how it works.
All right. Next is you.
Carcassonne the City, which it is not a 2-player game.
Another one on the list here is Noctilica, which again,
also 1 to 4 players. And they specified below that why they clarify that is that they don't play it any other way other than 2-player. Which some of these, I only play 2-player, but like I play Carcassonne with my wife constantly. I like it as a 2-player, but that doesn't make it, in my opinion, I don't consider that a 2-player game. But Battle Line is definitely a 2-player game. Also known as Schottentotten, I believe. Unless I'm thinking of something different.
Yeah.
It's basically...
If it's the one I think it is, yeah.
Yep. Basically 9 hands of mini poker.
Yeah,
it's
so
really
the
cool.
next one on my list, and I'm actually going to put a couple of them together because there's quite a few on here, and that's 878 Vikings, 1775 Rebellion, and 1754 Conquest. All those are Academy games. I'm trying to see if there's any other ones on here, but it doesn't look like it. Those are Academy games. They're kind of area control style game, and technically, those can go up to 4 people, but as I was saying with Star Wars Rebellion, it's more along the lines you're splitting the army. So they specifically made it to be a 2-player game that can go up to 4 because you're just splitting the armies.
Yeah.
And everybody I've heard who's played these ones say you need to play them just strictly as 2 players because this way you can concentrate on what your army's doing as well as, say, Danny can concentrate on his army. And so... But all of these are historically games. 878 Vikings, of course, is about the Viking raids into, I want to say, the UK, but it might be the general European area. And 1775 Rebellion is about the American Revolution. And the Conquest one, I believe, is about the British Indian Wars, if I remember correctly.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds fun. Amanda added Kahuna, which is part of the Cosmos 2-player line, along with Lost Cities and quite a few others. Yeah, Kahuna is probably one of my favorites.
Targi is on that line
Targi
too. That is on our list.
Yep, sure is.
So you're going to be more familiar with this one, and that is Hanamakuji.
Hanamakuji, yeah. It's a Japanese 2-player game. Absolutely 2-player game. It's super cool. You're basically trying to win the favor of different... what are the women who have like the geisha? you're trying to win the honor of different geisha, and each one's you're trying to provide them with gifts in order for them to come to your side. Whoever has 10 points worth of gifts or worth of geisha on their side, or has 4 or more, 5 or more, one of the two, win the game. And it's super smart how it works. It's one of the neatest designs I've played. It's definitely
so. Dark Elf, thank you for joining us. And he says the Duke, if it wasn't mentioned, I don't think the Duke has been mentioned yet.
It has not been mentioned yet. All right.
Also known as Jarl, the re-theme of it, the Jarl.
Yep.
So next on our list here is Summoner. It says Summons War, but I'm thinking they're trying to say Summoner War.
Yeah.
Which is the Plaid Hat game. Mm-hmm. Again, another one that can kind of go up to more players, but it specifically should be played as 2.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I actually enjoyed this one. My wife was not much of a fan. The only thing I can say about Summoner Wars right now is that it doesn't hold up to time.
Yeah. Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah, it was phenomenal when I used to have it, but nobody would play it with me, so
yeah,
I ended up getting rid of it. I think that was the case. It just seemed at first too similar to like something like Magic, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a very different game.
Want to do the next one?
Yeah, the next one, Devon, which is also part of the Gift series.
Yeah,
honestly,
I avoid those like the plague. So.
Any one of the games that are in the Gift series, most of them are really solid, really good games. We'll be talking more about those later.
You want to try pronouncing that one?
Sekigahara. Did I say it right?
I know nothing about that. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Sekigahara? I don't know. I've never played it either.
Blocus Duo.
Yep.
Another one of those abstract games. This one is like...
This is a 2-player like portable version of Blocus. Basically smaller board,
like
same
Tetris
game.
pieces, and you're trying to fill up the board.
What makes it... You're trying to put out as many pieces and as much of squares as possible. So like if you have like an S shape in Tetris, that's 4 squares. So you're trying to get out as many squares as you can, whoever has the fewer squares wins. But the thing is, none of your pieces can ever touch with edges. They can only touch like corners like this. So if you're able to play it right, you're able to weave in and out of other people's structures.
All right, so next on the list is Rum and Bones Second Tide.
Yep.
I have played Rum and Bones. I do believe it's made to be a 2-player game because one person's got one pirate boarding another pirate ship, that sort of stuff. So
yep.
I don't know if it can go up to 4. I played it one time and it's been a while.
I've played it the once, so that's all I can say. Next one on my list is BattleCon. I like BattleCon a lot. It's a 2-player like Street Fighter style back and forth, really smart information in it.
This is never ending. This list just keeps going and going.
It does.
And going.
It does. We gotta hurry.
Next on the list is Carcassonne the Castle. You're more familiar with that, so go ahead.
I think the castle. So one of them is. I think the castle might be the 2-player one.
But yeah, I knew there was one that was a 2-player one.
Yeah, the castle is actually made by Reiner Knizia, and the city is just like one where you build the walls. This one has a border already built, and you're building inside of that border.
Okay. Next on the list here is Babel.
Not familiar with it?
Not familiar. Battlelore, which
Battlelore,
I believe is in the Sin.
Yeah, it's
Terathoth or something like that.
Yeah, Terranoth. I think it is. I might be wrong, but it is the 2-player version. Like Memoir 44 is very similar to Battlelore, I believe.
Which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay. Mythic Battles Pantheon.
Not familiar with this one.
Same here. Undaunted. Are you familiar with that one?
I am familiar with it. It's a World War II, I think, card-playing game. I think they just had a recent one, like Undaunted Normandy or something like that, that was getting a lot of rewards. I am sort of familiar with it. I'm not too... Again, like I said, 2-player games is not something I play a lot of because my wife doesn't want to play games with me anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Doomtown.
I am familiar with that one. I used to own Doomtown Reloaded. It's a LCG, CCG, whatever you want to call it, card game based in Castles is 2 players only. So yes, right. That's the one we were mixing that up with the city, right?
Yeah. So
Doomtown is a 2-player card game about basically a Western card game. I wanted to get into it. I actually liked it once I figured out how to play it. It takes a while, but the deck building aspect of it, and again, it being only a 2-player game, it was a chore to get to the table, so I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna skip this next one, but chess.
Yes.
Yeah, chess by Amanda. Yep, good. I mean, that nobody's disputing that's not a good 2-player game.
Though the one we skipped, I don't know if I would like that.
Nah, I'm not a fan.
All right, next on the list is Stronghold. Again, a game I'm not familiar with.
Yep. We have Tiny Ninjas.
And then Joan of Arc, which is this the new one by Mythic, or was there another Joan of Arc game? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Memoir 44, absolutely 2-player, 2-sided game.
Yes, and I really do want to get this game. This is something that's been on my want list for a while.
Right.
Even though it's a 2-player game, what people don't realize is my grandfather fought in World War II. So World War II has a little bit of a closeness to me, just because my grandfather was 15, 16 years old storming the beaches of Normandy and stuff like that. So.
Wow. Yeah. Our next one is Ingenious, which we're going to skip by because it's 2 to 4.
Sprawlopolis. Don't know it. Sorry.
It's from Button Shy Games, I think. Sprawlopolis, if I'm not mistaken. If Sprawlopolis is what I think it is, it's like a city building card game.
And so the next one on our list here is Dual Powers Revolution 1917. We actually had a discussion of this one with Keith Mateka on our interview with him. This is one that's on my list because, yeah, it's a bit of a battle and it's a bit of historic, but it's not what you expect. It's more like a power struggle, I guess you can say, because it's about the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah. Very specific.
Really want to get this one. Yeah.
It does look cool. Tosh Kalar. I'm not familiar with it. Yep. War of the Worlds.
The new wave is Gray Fox Games, 2-player War of the World games. It's a bit of a tug of war. I think one side's playing the aliens while another person is playing the humans who are trying to survive. I've looked into it. Again, the only reason I didn't back it is a 2-player game. I try not to put too many 2-player games in my collection because they're just not going to get played. Yeah. It's very rarely I have only 2 people to play games with.
And our last one here is Thunder and Lightning. And that is part of the 2-player Cosmos trilogy.
Isn't Thunder and Lightning like a reprint of like Hera and Zeus or something like that?
I think it is, yeah. So, great suggestions from everybody. Let's read the comments real quick. My comments aren't loading before Steven's comments of BattleCon.
So Steven is the first one that's on my list here.
Okay, good. So, yeah, Steven said BattleCon, it is full knowledge game and you can have very deep strategy. Couldn't agree more. Yep.
Dallas said he added a Noctilica because it's technically 2 to 4, but it should only be played at 2.
I beg to differ. I've had fun with it. I get why. It's way more. You have way more control that way. Thunder and Lightning is my favorite abstract strategy game. This is by Omid. While Mythic Battles Pantheon is my favorite 2-player game overall. War Chess Onitama, Joan of Arc, and the Duke are all honorable mentions.
And there's the Duke.
There we go.
Kenny said, I know many people love Twilight Struggle, but that is the one game I really dislike. It is just a bad game. I just really don't like the tug-of-war mechanic. Once the pieces get so far in their favor, I just don't care anymore and mentally checked out. They only need 7 more spaces and I need 28. What's the point? It doesn't bother me so much in Seven Wonders Duel because it is only part of the game. I don't feel like you're so close and I am so far because I don't have to get it to my side. I just have to keep it for where it is. I still feel like there is a chance and a reason to play.
Yep.
And I agree with him on that. I like the way Seven Wonders Duel does do that tug-of-war mechanic.
Yeah, because it's not the only way you can win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Randy said Tainted Grail.
Tainted Grail is one of those massive games. I guess he only plays it with 2 players.
I guess so.
Ben says, I'm partial to Rum and Bones, Second Tide, and Star Wars Rebellion. One I've played, one I own, and it's just on my shelf of shame.
Yeah. Brian said, I'm slowly building up a specific 2-player only collection, still need to play Memoir 44, Paris City of Lights, which is a really fun 2-player game. It's a really smart system. It's a polyomino game. Tatsu, which I'm not familiar with, Star Wars Rebellion, Jaipur, and Skull Hollow. Out of all of those, Brian, go play Jaipur. Play it on Board Game Arena. Give it a shot. It's such a good It's such a good 2-player game.
Nate says Race for the Galaxy is best with 2. Understandable, it's best with 2. War Chest would be on my list, but it's technically 2 or 4 players. So War Chest was mentioned earlier, and some people agree with you. And Danny actually likes the game himself. Yeah, it's just again 2 to 4.
So if it's a 2 or 4 player game that plays very similar, so let's say Onirim. The original intent is for that to be a solo game, but there is a 2-player version of it. But what's the intent? It's a 1-player game. For War Chest, that's intended to be a 2-player or 2-sided game where you're effectively playing the same thing.
That's what we were saying about like the 1775 Rebellion and stuff like that too.
Kristen said Karuba, the card game, which I think is 2 to 4. Port Royal, which I think is up to 6. And Robber Knights, which I have no idea.
And Sam says Tack in the Duke.
Yep. Tack is the abstract game by James Ernest. Very neat. And the Duke is like chess, but way better. And
all right. So
and then
that was
Mark,
it for me.
Yeah, Mark had added on Stronghold. He posted this just a little while ago. Says it takes a few games before you both get familiar enough to really ready to play it properly, but when you get to that point, it's amazing. Cool. So I'll have to check out Stronghold. Shall we go on to our honorable mentions?
Jaipur has a great phone app too. It's old, but it still plays well.
Yes, it does. Oh my goodness, it's solid game.
Oh, I do enjoy Jaipur. It's probably my second favorite on our top 8.
Yep, it's up there for me.
Maybe third, but it's up there.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun debate.
All right, you want to start our honorable mentions?
Yep,
because
I said
none
earlier,
of mine were mentioned.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Patchwork. Yeah, that's my number 3. Hands down. Yeah, I love Patchwork. It's really good. You really need to try this, Daniel. I can't wait to show you. I think you're going to eat it up.
So my first one on my list here is Duelosaur Island, and I'm just going to try to get through these quick because we have talked about it, but I love the 2-player implementation of Dinosaur Island in this one. Takes a whole lot less time than Dinosaur Island, so I do really enjoy it.
Yeah. My second one is, a few games, Devon and Czar, were both listed from the gift series. I picked my personal favorite of them, that's Yinch. I like Yinch a lot. Most of them use a very similar board. It's fairly hexagonal on most of them. You move white or black pieces around the board, but they're all very different mechanisms. Yinch is just my favorite because it has almost like an Othello, jumping around. And the way that you score your points means that you have fewer discs to move around, and therefore less control of the board as you're higher up. So it's a built-in catch-up mechanism. I think it's smart.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Well, wait, I highly do disagree because I can't stand the
Which ones have you played?
I played that one. I played, I don't know, you've shown me 2 or 3 of them, and I just couldn't get into them.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I'm not an abstract player. There's a few. There's always an exception to the rule. Santorini is one that I enjoy. Onitama is another one that I enjoy.
Yeah.
But as for most abstracts, I'm just not a huge fan of them.
Yeah.
My next one on my list here is a 2-player trick-taking game that I thoroughly enjoy when I get to play it, and that is Fox in the Forest. You could even put the duet in this one as well. Just that one's the 2-player co-op version of the Fox in the Forest. I just went with Fox in the Forest because that's the one I played and more familiar with.
Okay.
And I do like the ability that you want just the right amount of tricks. You don't want to take too much or you don't want to take too little, but there's a viable option where you're trying to force tricks into someone to make them bankrupt and because they got too greedy. So I do like that, and I do really enjoy this game.
Cool. And my number 1 is a tie between 2 games, but they're part of the same style series, and that's Quarto and Corridor. They're both part of the Gigamix wooden games. Quarto, you just have 16 different pieces that share attributes. You have to put the 4th, if you put 4 in a row that have the same attributes, let's say all 4 dark or all 4 square or all 4 short, then you win, but you have to hand the piece to your opponent that they place down on the board. So you have to give them a piece where they can't win, and you have to force them into a situation where they have no choice but to give you a piece where you win. It's such a brilliant game, made by a mathematician, and Corridor is same idea. It can technically play up to 4 as well, so that's why it's lesser on the list, but basically you're both trying to get to the other side of the board by building a maze and moving your pawn. That's it. You can't completely block off the opponent. You just have to make it where that maze is longer for them than you.
Alright, so my number 1 on the list is one of the newest games I've ever played, but it's to the point where it's a game that my wife will be willing to play.
Horrified.
And it's just right above my head.
I can't tell. Oh, Keyforge.
Keyforge.
Yep.
I enjoy it. I wasn't a huge fan of what is it? A huge fan of Magic the Gathering, but that was more so because of the crowd, the community at the time. They're not some of the most inclusive people. My wife loves Magic the Gathering, and she just did not like. And he just disappeared on me over here.
Go ahead and keep going.
She didn't like the people that we're playing with. The community is a bit toxic in our area, or was at one point, and she just didn't feel comfortable. But Keyforge is something that we can play together and really enjoy. So I have a card game that I enjoy to play. She's got something that gives her that magic feel that she enjoys, and we don't have to worry about spending a crap ton of money.
Right. So Dark Elf brought up Black Box, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, are you talking this one? Because, yeah, Black Box is awesome. It's a deduction. It's like a 2-player deduction puzzle game. It's super cool.
And Canadian Collector agrees with me in Fox in the Forest pick. Yes, I do. I'm a huge trick-taking fan. I love trick-taking games.
Yeah.
The Crew is one that I wanted for a while. Finally got it. We played it, and we played it round after round after round just because we really enjoyed it.
I wanted to bring up one other game real quick, and I know this is going to sound like shameless self-promotion, but that's why I'm just going to talk about it real quick, because I really do think that Aqueduct stands up to some of these, and I can't wait for you guys to try it out at some point. It's just throwing that out there. It's a game I personally designed, but I really would play it like alongside. If I was having a 2-player game day, that's one I would bring up. I know you're laughing, but I rarely do this, and you know this too. But I do stand by that game. I really do think
I'm laughing because I thought you were going to say a totally different game. It's not really a 2-player game, but...
Which one? Hit Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not a 2-player game. No, that's 2
and
to
yes,
4.
That's the game he was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I forgot that I had that one until I looked over at my shelf real quick. So, yeah, no, solid. Dark Elf, yes. Couldn't agree more. Daniel,
all right,
have you
we're
even
take
seen
a quick
that one?
break and get into the quarterfinals.
All right, sounds good. We're going to stop the video real quick, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. We are going to jump into our quarterfinals for our top 8 debate for best 2-player games. Now, we stuck to only 2-player games, or if they have like a variant, like a 1-player option that might mix in, or like 4-player options. Technically, some of these do. But
yeah.
We went on Board Game Geek. We ranked it by the highest ranked on Board Game Geek. And then we are going to, or we took the top 8 that we have both played, and we're going to now debate which ones are the best.
And remember, the way we break these down is ease of play, replay value, meaningful choice, game immersion, and art and production.
Right. Now, some of these are abstract games, so I feel like theme matching mechanisms that we might have to, like, because they're not, some of them aren't intended to have a theme. So, like, we might have to take that into, like, it's not necessarily,
but
yeah, if, like,
we're not fixing this again. We've gotten through too many arguments.
What I'm saying, though, is that, like, if there's an abstract strategy game, like, let's say checkers, right? It's not on our list, but let's say checkers versus a game that has a theme but really doesn't feel like that theme. Like, it's like you could have pasted any theme on it. Like checkers technically I think would win in that.
We only have one game on this list that does not have a theme on it, and you're just arguing that point because it's one of your favorites.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that was paired up against a game that just doesn't feel like, so Jaipur.
Take your bias out of it.
No, Jaipur doesn't totally feel like you're trading in the Mediterranean. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if Klask was up against Jaipur as far as
this was your top 8 debate. This was your idea. And these are the components that we go by. You got to follow the rules just like everybody else.
I know. I'm saying, like, how well does the theme match the mechanism? If there's no theme made for the game, then it matches it fine. You know?
I guess.
Yeah. That's just like we'll just call it like an even, like, it technically matches, yes. But if there's something that matches more or matches less, then that's what decides it.
Again, you decided this debate. You decided these rules. You have to live with it.
I'm fine with that. All right. So our first one. Oh, let's go over them real quick.
Okay. Number 1 seed, Seven Wonders Duel versus the 8 seed Klask.
Our number 2 seed, Star Wars X-Wing versus our number 7 seed, Onitama.
Our number 3 seed, Star Realm versus our 6 seed, Magic the Gathering.
And the hardest one of the list, number 4 seed, Jaipur versus our number 5 seed, Targi.
This one hurts me a lot. I really do love Jaipur, but worker placement is just my jam. That's what I love to do, and Targi gives me a 2-player version of that.
It's a really smart version of it, too. And Dark Elf brought up that Black Box was designed by a physicist. That's cool. I didn't realize that. It's a really, really neat game.
So that's cool.
Yeah. So
all right, so ready to get into our 1 and 8?
Let's get into it. That's Seven Wonders Duel versus Klask. Go ahead and take Duel. I like them both. I know you loathe Klask. And
I don't loathe Klask. I just don't like. I like the fact that it's supposed to be like an air hockey game with magnets.
Right.
It's fine. I just don't like not being able to see what my hands are doing.
Okay.
I hate having it under the table and stuff like
that.
So,
and see, me, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. So let's try to take that as much out of it as we can.
Well, I'm going to try to take it out of the bias, but that's my problem with it.
The bias that I'm going to take out is because I really dislike Seven Wonders as much as I do like Seven Wonders Duel. So I'm going to try and prevent that from biasing me as well.
So for me, when it comes to the bias with Seven Wonders Duel, is that it replaced Seven Wonders for me. Honestly, if someone said, hey, you want to play this or this, even if we got more people, I'm like, I don't want to touch Seven Wonders. Yeah. I don't like the game. It frustrates me at no end. It's a quick game if you know what you're doing. It's just, I don't like how this works. I don't like how this works. And then you got to do this, and then you got to pay this guy to use this resource where you can build this thing over here.
Sure.
But you got to make sure you can pay your neighbor over here if you need a resource that they have, and it's just like, And Seven Wonders Duel, just the drafting part of that is my favorite thing. The way it has the cards bridged out and how things are flipping, and sometimes they're blind, and then you take the 2 and it flips over, and now it's able to buy, or like, wow, I really need to take that card, but if I do, it opens up that military card for Daniel over here, and he's building up his military like there's no tomorrow. So I love Seven Wonders Duel. It, to me, even though I have to take my bias out of that is probably my favorite 2-player game on this list. It's just a phenomenal re-implementation of Seven Wonders, and it hits the spot.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I didn't care for Seven Wonders, the original game, and then Bruno Cathala came in and gave him all these cool ideas, and basically playing it like solitaire, but a weird pyramid revelation thing. Yeah, I mean, I have no disagreement with that. I like how you can win on 3 different ways, but realistically, it's whoever has the most points. Is the most often. I like how.
But those other 2 ways, the sciences and the military, it are viable options. Yep. You can win. I've seen people win with it.
Yep.
I've won militaristically.
It prevents people from running away with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing because that keeps them in check. If you're playing smart, then you're going to make sure that they don't pull that off.
And the thing that I really, really like that what Seven Wonders Duel does, I'm seeing, say you're going for the military track.
Sure.
I don't need that military card, but the cards behind it are more important to me. I could take that military card and just trash it and gain some money off of it.
Right, exactly.
So I could block you while still helping myself out instead of like hate drafting in Seven Wonders where you're taking a card that you don't need just to make sure Jim over there doesn't need it or can't have it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Now, my argument for Klask, I mean, I was kind of like an air hockey pool shark, if you will. Like, I loved playing air hockey. I wanted a way to... I considered, and I still am considering, getting an air hockey table for my house because that's... Out of all of, like, the tabletop style, like, house party games or clubhouse games, air hockey is my favorite, hands down. I've always grown up with it. I love it. And I think Clask, for the people who aren't bothered by the hand under the table and the magnets thing, I think it's a very fair implementation of it in a portable way, because you're knocking around the balls around, you're knocking around the magnets, and there adds it a little bit more chaos because, like, sometimes you might lift the magnet off and your piece might go flying. There's little magnetic pieces that are launching around the board because of the marble that you don't, that you have to avoid, because if you get too many of those, that's another point. If you knock off the marble from the table, becomes the next player's, and it works really well. It's a really beautifully made game. The pieces are solid. They're really good. With that being said, Seven Wonders is going on because it wins with ease of play. That's
not just that, category. And also the replay value. Once you play one game of Clask, you know pretty much all of Clask.
Right.
With Seven Wonders, they have expansions. They have the variability of how the cards shuffle and then come up. Certain cards come in from the guild. Certain cards don't come in. So, and then there's a lot more meaningful choices in the game immersion, too.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Seven Wonders is just objectively a better game.
It is.
I mean, and then the only other thing that I think it could possibly compete with is, like, it would win in components in the production.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah,
I mean, art, no.
It's just...
But the components, yes. I mean that's that's one of the multiple categories that doesn't go on. So Seven Wonders Duel will beat Clask. And no, I'm not as upset as you think I am about that, Daniel. Because I know you're like, oh my, like you think I'm like the biggest Clask fanboy, and as much as I really do like it,
you're the only fanboy.
No, they have tournaments and all sorts of stuff.
Except for I'm looking at the fan votes because I have them written down here, and Clask was the least voted on.
Yeah, one.
Two.
Two.
Yeah, two.
Twice as many as I thought. No crushed fingers or knuckles with Clask. Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Because you can mess yourself up on air hockey with it.
A big part of the problem I have with Clask is that it's the small table that you have the little thing and you got to go under. I got large hands. I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I get it. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I do think Seven Wonders is a better game. It is. So we're just going to settle the argument now. I admit it. But that doesn't make me enjoy it less. So
yeah, and like what you like.
Yeah, exactly. Our next one. Very different games.
Very different games. We got X-Wing versus Onitama. Take whichever one you want. I'm familiar with both of them. I like both of them to an extent.
Okay. I mean, I know which one I prefer more.
I know which one you prefer too, so go ahead.
Which one do you think it is?
Onitama?
Yes, let's take Onitama. Onitama is smart chess. I mean, because
really
chess is already really smart, right? You have to be brilliant. But here's the shortcomings with chess and
I call Onitama not smart chess, but simpler chess.
Simpler chess, yeah. Here's the problem with why I would prefer this over chess, hands down. If you play chess, you're either in an upper echelon where you understand it really well and you're really good at it, or you're never going to win, ever. And I am in that lower category for sure, and that's fine. I'm okay with losing plenty of games. But here's the thing. Every person I've played chess that I know is objectively better than me, they're going to destroy me. Why even play? Whereas I feel in Onitama, I do have the ability to give up or give a good chance to it, because it's not just how you move your pieces. You have two ways to win, and how you play the 5 cards that are out on the table, what you give to your opponent when, that's a really, really meaningful choice. And so I feel like it's obviously less thematic than Star Wars X-Wing. I don't disagree with that, because it really does see that. But yeah, Daniel, you can control both sides of the field with those pawns. Yeah, exactly. It's a really incredible game where, like, say Star Wars X-Wing.
That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about, like, I have the big meaty hands. So classic.
Those. Okay, I thought you said pawns. Where was that? Oh yeah. So Onitama. Yeah. So you're gonna be playing, and I feel like if there was like one card, like let's say the monkey is really powerful, I can keep that from you, but that's also making it more difficult for myself. I'm purposely not using that card. I only have one option on my turn, and when is the right time for me to unload it and know that you're going to get it in a couple turns? That's such a valuable choice. I love Onitama for that reason alone.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all. It's tough for me to have to argue against it with X-Wing, but I do enjoy X-Wing. Yeah. The only problem is I don't own X-Wing. I do own Onitama. And the big part of the reason why I don't own X-Wing is it's really expensive.
Yeah.
The base games and getting into it is fine, but after a while you want more, what's the word I'm looking for here, variability. So you want to get some of those other ships just to give, because they have different abilities, they have different ways of moving and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that is my big problem with X-Wing, and I understand why it's a tabletop miniature game. I understand why they have all those that are coming out. But X-Wing, it's a very thematic game when you're thinking about it in the essence that it is a dogfight. It's the Rebel Alliance versus the Empire. You are getting those big space battles that you were hoping. The only problem is Armada, which is the bigger version of this, does that space battle dogfights a lot better because you're having like a big space war in sense, because you have like these big ships. And so that's my issue with X-Wing. I'd rather play Armada because I'd rather control like the little ships with the big ships.
Yeah. I mean, the only argument, it's definitely more thematic than Onitama, but it's one of the least thematic as far as Star Wars goes, because like, think about it this way: it's a war in the stars. Like, it makes sense, right? It's thematic on that part, but you're not getting the full feel of the game, you know.
And the big knock of this one is when it comes to thematic, it does feel cool when you're in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. But they've reskinned this with Dungeons and Dragons, where your dragons fighting in the air, and then you have like little ground troops. That's kind of what I want in a Star Wars game. Yeah. Give me the space battle as well as the ground troop battles. That would be amazing.
Right, exactly. So, but
just going by everything that we on our list, ease of play goes to Onitama.
Yeah.
Because you have to learn how each individual ship plays, how the movement works, how you're using those little ruler things to make your ship roll the way it is, and how the captain works and stuff like that. Onitama, here's your 5, here's my 5. Here's the 2 cards that I can use. You got to move it in this area. Here's the 2 cards you can use. You got to move in that area. And there's the 1 card that both we're vying for. Right.
And that's it.
Once you use it, it moves over there. Yeah, real simple. Ease of play for me, Onitama.
Yeah.
Replay value, I guess that can go to X-Wing because, wow, there's a lot of expansion.
There is. No, that's not to say that. No, the cool thing is about Onitama, though, there's 16 cards in the base game. And that means you can play 3 full games without any repeat.
Yeah.
And the fact that you deal out 5 random cards every turn, that's really neat.
Yeah, so length of time and scaling well. I guess replay value would go to Onitama because the length of time and scaling well and the minimum number of plays for full experience would get it. The only thing is expandability would go to X-Wing. So yeah, I'll give you replay value.
Well, minimum number of plays for full experience I think still goes to Star Wars. I really do. Yeah. It's not nothing for Onitama, but meaningful choices. You have dice rolling versus everything's laid out on the table.
Everything, game immersion. I think that one will go to X-Wing because the theme matching the mechanism works really well. The interacting because you're in the dogfight. And I as much as I love Onitama, I've had more memorable moments playing X-Wing when you finally blow up that other guy's ship.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now, what about art and production, though? I mean, so the pieces, the components that we would likely have to give to X-Wing because those ships are really decent. But here's the thing. The production, the art, I think would go to Onitama because I love the way that they implemented everything, like the scroll board, the pieces.
Here's my thing. I as much as the pieces are nice and the starfighters are nice, the overall component quality that comes with Onitama, you have those beautiful plastic pieces for the army. Right. It comes with a playmat. And the card quality is great. For me personally, as much as I like X-Wing's component quality, the ships are nice, don't get me wrong. But then you have these little standees, the little rule slides are just cardboard, where Onitama's whole system is really made well. And especially when it comes down to the design, the way the mats work and how you're moving your characters and stuff like that. Yeah, no. For me, on production, I think Onitama wins.
All right. Then that means Onitama moves on.
And we'll be facing Seven Wonders Duel.
Wow. All right. I mean, both games I like. So, our next round, take a quick breather. Star Realms versus Magic the Gathering. Now,
you can have Magic the Gathering.
I will argue for Magic the Gathering, absolutely. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, though, first, is Star Realms was made by a Magic the Gathering player. Keep that in mind.
Another thing we want to talk about Star Realms when we're talking about like how games can be expanded to 4 players and stuff like that. Star Realms was originally made as a 2-player game. If you wanted to play 4 players, you had to buy an extra copy.
Yep, exactly. Yep, so it's 100% 2-player game. But Magic the Gathering, I mean, what more can't be said about Magic? There's a lot of that. I know you don't like it, and
the thing is, I don't mind the game. That's the big thing about it. I don't mind Magic the Gathering. I don't like the fact that you have to, like, if you wanted to compete in tournaments and stuff like that, you have to spend a lot of money on it. And another thing is, I've had a hard time, especially more recently with the community than I've ever had because of what just they made my wife feel uncomfortable.
And that's a big factor. That's unfortunately not a knock to the game, but that is definitely
But that's the attraction for me and why I can't stand. I don't mind the game. I have Magic the Gathering packs behind me.
Sure.
It's just I don't play it because it brings up when we talk about memorable moments. Those are moments that I remember that detract from the game.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So Magic the Gathering, I will try my best to argue it. I played it many years. I've been familiar with the game since I was a young teenager, and I am by far not a young teenager anymore. You do the math. So, yeah, a long time, and I competed in tournaments, and I was part of the whole collecting culture, but I'm going to judge it based on the game itself. Okay?
And like I said, I'm trying to take bias out of this. It's just, again, it's just something that affects me on a personal level.
As for ease of play, it definitely goes to Star Realms, but that's with the caveat that likelihood of getting it to the table, I feel Magic would because of the whole culture, because everybody's heard of Magic. It's like, so much to the point that I do Magic. Like, notice how I say that? I do Magic. You see what I mean? Like, I do sleight of hand and prestidigitation. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, you mean the card game? It's like, well, I mean, I played it, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Like, I could do sleight of hand and stuff. And so, very different thing, but that's how ingrained into the culture it is. But, as far as components go, they're both card games. The Magic set the standard for card thickness. I mean, like, when people say it's like, these are good quality cards, they're the same as Magic the Gathering, then you know, okay. Components would go to that. Art, they've had thousands of pieces of art.
So I'm going to say something about Magic real quick. That's also kind of impressive. They made a whole business for another business with card sleeves.
Yeah. Magic, I do agree with Dark Elf. Magic is always a money sink. And it wasn't always a 2-player only, actually. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways to do it, like unofficial commanders up to like 4, I think. Yeah, back in the Unlimited days. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaningful choices.
Again, it was on the list, so.
Meaningful choices. I think would be Magic personally, and the reason being,
I would just argue against it. Is the main meaningful choice there is how you build your deck, but it's randomized after you shuffle it and your opponent cuts it, so you don't know exactly what's coming up in your hand right then and there. Whereas I would give the meaningful choice to Star Realms because you have that rotating deck. There's always cards for you to meaningfully buy. How is it going to best suit your deck as you're building it?
Yeah.
As you go along.
But here's my counter argument for it. Choice. I like that mechanism better. I think it's better than that, where building the deck prior is a very meaningful thing to do.
But here's my thing. Argue against that. You're building the deck before you even start the game.
Right. Well,
even though that's a meaningful choice, you're making it before you do the game.
No, you make the choice during the game.
Meaningful choices in the game in Star Realms.
You do it during the game as well, in between rounds. Most Magic the Gathering games are best of 3, and you have a sideboard of 15 cards that you modify and trade out cards from your deck based on your opponent.
You're talking about it's doing between rounds. It's not during the actual game itself when you're playing against the other player.
A full game of Magic is best of 3, though.
Okay, going to meaningful choices in the way we break this down, impacting other players. You're impacting more players, other than you're fighting against them and trying to destroy their cards in Magic the Gathering. You not only are you impacting the other player by just trying to whittle down their health points in there, you're also trying to take cards away from them on the pool for them to buy as well.
I think the detraction from Star Realms, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think the biggest problem with the deck building aspect of it is that there's no bad choices ever. And that doesn't make it meaningful.
How is that? It's very meaningful.
It means it's arbitrary, which is one of our categories.
No, it does not mean it's arbitrary. Because you have more choices to choose from.
No, it's very...
Because if I'm playing the blob, I want to make sure I'm trying to get the best blob characters to allow me to make a good combo, a game-breaking combo. That doesn't detract from it.
But the thing is I could tell, like, a brand new player halfway through the game, I can tell them, look, if whatever money you have, spend it. Play every card in your deck or every card in your hand because there's no reason not to. And then secondly, try to stick to the same colors. That's the length of the strategy in that game.
Yeah.
It's the we can't factor in the random.
But the thing is, you could tell them to do that, but once you start seeing how other people are reacting, if they're going for the same cards you are, if they're going for the blobs, you're trying to take those away from them. I find that impacting the other player is more meaningful, and because other than destroying their monsters on the board, on the field, and trying to hit their life points directly, you're not interacting with them at any other time.
Are you talking in Magic?
Yeah.
Oh, no, then you've never played in Blue then. Because Blue absolutely is controlling them. You're countering their spells. You're manipulating their deck. You have the ability to make them draw out. Hold on, let me finish my point. Hold on, let me finish my point. There is a lot of deck manipulation. You can control their creatures. You can gain control of those. You can damage your opponents. You can cause them through other arbitrary means for them to completely destroy themselves. Yeah. You can manipulate what's in their discard versus yours. There is way more impacting the other players in Magic. Hands down.
No, I'm not giving you impacting other players because the basic... Well, then we're going to have to call it a wash because neither one of us are budging on that.
All right. Should we... All right, I'm okay with calling it a wash because it really is... I get what you're saying is that, like, but all you're doing by impacting me by taking away the blob is just getting a blob. If you're not going for blobs, why would you buy that blob other than just like, oh, okay, it's a good card that he has.
That's a big part. Yeah, that's where it comes down to long-term strategy. It's affecting my long-term strategy, but I'm still impacting the other player.
Okay, then let's call that a wash. And then impacting long-term, I agree with you. That is definitely Star Realms. But non-arbitrary choices is Magic.
I'll give you that. You can make arbitrary choices to an extent in Star Realms.
I mean, it's just play everything. It's all good. Whereas Magic,
no, not necessarily.
If I have 2 mana and I have...
At the beginning, it's play everything, but you got to be smart of how you're building your deck. That's the whole purpose of a deck builder itself.
Right, but like if I'm going for blobs and the whole thing is yellow, then it's like I don't have an option in that, you know. Like I'm still going to buy something.
You can get the ones that could give you more money.
Yeah, I mean, but that's still, it's not as much as like if I have 2 mana out and I have 3 cards that use 2 mana, which one in my situation is going to be the best? So
right, so
either
meaningful
way,
choices out because it's a wash. Because each has one, and then there's a.
All right, so then ease of play, we gave to Star Realms.
Star Realms.
Art and production
Replay
is
value.
Magic.
I mean, I have to give that to Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
They've been around since 94.
Right. Immersion. So this is, I mean, neither the theme matching the mechanism. Technically,
yeah, it's basically I'm going to buy this to go with this.
Yeah.
The only way I say Star Realms matches the mechanism to an extent is that the way the cards play with each other. That's about it.
Yeah,
but the same can be said about Magic the Gathering, how the black ones, whatever they are, play with other black ones, and how the white ones are the polar opposite of the black deck and stuff like that.
Yes.
So
yeah, but immersion, player interaction. There's a whole community built on it, not just with the mechanisms, but like there's the whole community built.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that. Yeah. I'm just going to make a point. There's a whole community based on Monopoly too. Doesn't make it a good community.
That's true. It doesn't make it a good community, but there is. it leads to more interaction versus just like a quick like pop, 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 pop. Okay, I gotcha.
And as much as I'm taking my bias out of this, and I'm going to go ahead and give game immersion to Magic the Gathering, it's just what I have to do. The community is the reason why I don't play Magic the Gathering. Right. So
it was a very unfortunate series of events that caused you to not enjoy the community. And when I was part of the community, I enjoyed it a lot, but I definitely felt that too, even as a kid. Like people would be like, "Oh, well, I'll trade you this common card for that because you like the way it looks versus that rare card that's definitely not worth anything. It was like a $20 card." Like there was a sour community, which is why I ended up getting out of it.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the times, and it's not just Magic. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have a issue with this too. Is that sometimes these communities breed and fester toxicity, and that's a big problem with it. And that's why I do like the fact that I'm in this board gaming community, because I've noticed it more and more now that we police ourselves more and more. Just to the point, there was this one, and this is at the shop, there was this one problem child, you know who I'm talking about, to the point where he almost got banned from the shop because of his toxicity. They gave him warning after warning, and if this person hadn't moved away, he probably would have been outright banned from the shop just because of his...
And Dark Elf is on my side as far as impacting players, but we'll still call it a wash because either way, Magic goes on. So
yeah, art productions, pretty much the...
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they make full wall scrolls and posters and playmats and stuff just using the art from there, that says something. So Magic the Gathering moves on.
6-seed Magic the Gathering goes on.
Yeah, beating out Star Realms. Number 4 and number 5. Jaipur versus Targi. Yeah.
Ooh. I love both of these games. I know which one you want to move on. You know which one I want to move on. But it's sad that one of these has to lose because I love both these games.
Yeah, we have to come to terms with this for a minute. Let's just take a moment of silence because both of these games. Well, so here's what I'm going to tell myself. Whichever game goes on, I know is going to stand up really solidly against Magic the Gathering. Either way. Either way.
So, you know what? Normally we say this for the file, but I'm not even going to debate either one of these. Let's just go hands down into the program because these games are so good.
Yeah, they really are.
So which one would you give Ease a Play to?
Jaipur. Because
I would have to give it to.
Yeah, it's more akin to something similar to like Gin Rummy. You're trading in sets. The timing is really important, but Targi is worker placement, cross-axis, set collection, contract fulfillment, special ability, tableau building. Way more difficult than
replay
Jaipur.
Value. Length of time and scale well. Well, here's the problem. They're not going to scale. They're only 2-player games. You can only play with 2 people.
Yes, yeah. But the length of time, Jaipur is best of 3 in the full game. Targi is like a 60-minute game
by itself.
Stands. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Dark Elf.
I agree with you, Dark Elf. Star Realms is the better and more enjoyable game, but based on our criteria, Magic the Gathering has to move on.
Yeah. So, replay value, that would be Targi. I mean, it has an expansion.
It has to be. Because of the expansion and the minimum numbers of full plays, because things are variable. You played one game of Jaipur, you pretty much know how to play the game of Jaipur, and it's the same game every time. It's a good game, but it's the same game every time.
All right, so we have 1 for 1 each. Okay.
Yep. Art and production, let's go to that one because meaningful choice and game immersion is going to be a lot harder than we think it's going to be.
Yeah. Components, they're both a set of good cards. And
you're going to be surprised at who I'm going to go with on here, and it's just for the simple fact that I think Jaipur has the better art and has the better components.
I think so too. I think the linen finish that they put on the cards for Jaipur just stands out more than the card quality of Targi with everything else as... I mean, it's mostly
the only thing I would give to Targi on our art production part is the design. The design is phenomenal, especially when you're going along with that. Yeah. I forget what it is, the robber or whatever. He's blocking certain areas for you to play at.
Yeah. And see, that's one thing that I actually disagree with that because the border could have been set up as a board and didn't need to be cards, but the fact that they made it cards, I dislike.
I get what you're saying, but I think the design, because honestly, there's not really a design for it. It's just a tableau of cards that come out. That's really it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would only give the design to Targi for that reason.
Yeah.
So now we go into meaningful choice in game inversion. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do immersion, because I think meaningful choice is going to be a very difficult argument for us.
So game immersion, I would give to Targi, and here's why. I think the theme matches the mechanism better. Jaipur is a card game. We were talking about it earlier, how it's just trading in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Now, it feels like trading in the Mediterranean, kind of, technically.
Yeah, but...
right? But not really.
Target, you're moving your characters across the board. You're taking the crisscross. I just feel that it messes better, I guess you could say. Not by much.
Now that XY axis thing doesn't make a lick of sense as far as Targi and theme. That makes no sense for the theme. But
interacting with overall, other players, I would give to Jaipur. Just because, do I take the card that I know he's trying to collect? Do I wait and just take these camels and see what comes up? Targi, you are interacting with the other player by basically blocking them from a spot, but other than that, not so much.
Are we talking thematic immersion? Like the, for immersion, right? Or interaction?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one has... I would actually give that to Targi. Because... in Jaipur, everything you say, you say is through the cards. We can play it completely silently, and we're knowing what we're doing. Whereas in Targi, like you could add, it adds a little bit more room where you can add in that whole I'm just gonna get my series of women here for. That's like in built in mine or my building. My oasis that alone, is beautiful.
Gives Targi game immersion. Memorable moments. I'm gonna give to Jaipur. Honestly, to be truthfully honest, I've had more memorable moments playing Jaipur where it's like, you took the one thing I want, or you sold, so you took the bonus that I was trying to get to, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So then that would give immersion to...
Targi. So we're at 2-2.
So it's down to meaningful choice. Holy crap. Okay.
Hold on, I'm just looking at over here. Okay.
All right. Impacting other players. Both of them.
Yeah, that's a wash because you do things in Targi itself to block players, but also help yourself because of that crisscross pattern.
Yes, yeah. So my only
argument
Jaipur,
it's basically you're trying to make sure the other person doesn't get as many points as you, so you're taking cards that you don't necessarily like. The camels. Do you want to take those camels? That means more cards are gonna come up.
I would say that impacting other players would go to Jaipur because everything that you do does change options for your opponent or the state of the game for your opponent. Whereas in Targi, if you don't want a card in a row and I place a worker there, you don't care. It's very slight difference, but I think that
impacting of long-term strategy.
Long-term strategy would go to Targi because of that tableau that you're building.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you on that one. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to give Targi the lost in meaningful choices, and that's because the arbitrary choices. You don't make arbitrary choices, and you don't really make them in Targi either, but you can.
But you
can.
In
Jaipur, they all have to be meaningful choices as you're playing the game.
The fact that I could just say, okay, well, I can only have 10 resources. I'm just going to get 3 of each of the 3 ones to prepare for when better cards come out. That could be my whole turn. That is slightly more arbitrary than exactly when do I play my cards, when do I sell, when do I bounce these around between Jaipur. So just barely, I feel Jaipur goes on.
Yeah, I agree. And just to let everybody know, this is probably our biggest upset bracket that we've ever had.
Right.
Other than the 1 seed moving on, Seven Wonders Duel, all the lower seeds, except for Jaipur, I guess, as well, because it was the higher seed in their bracket, went on.
So 6
and 7
you got the
6 and the 7 and the 4 moving on.
So that means during our semifinals, we're going to be arguing Seven Wonders Duel versus Onitama.
In Jaipur versus Magic the Gathering.
So, stay tuned.
Just before we go to break, real quick, just want to let people know the vote totals. So Klask, our 8 seed, had 2 votes.
Yep. You're so happy
X-Wing,
with
which was
yourself
our
about
2
that.
seed, had 5 votes.
Okay.
Which was that was our 7 and 6 vote getters. Tied for fifth was Targi at 8.
Okay.
And
Wow.
what was the last one that didn't go through?
That was Star Realms.
Star Realms. Star Realms was our number 2 vote getter at 27 votes.
Wow. I don't know how many people are going to be upset with us. I feel like we explained our reasoning well enough.
At least we tried to.
Because don't get me wrong, like after playing Magic the Gathering for all those years, I'm not tired of it. I still want to play it. But I do think Star Realms is a funner game. I would rather play Star Realms, but Magic is better according to our standards. I feel like I'm going to upset some people. It upsets me even a little bit, arguing against my roots.
It upsets me. I don't disagree with you, but I mean, Keyforge, I play more than Magic because I just like it more.
Yeah. Now, if you went Keyforge against Star Realms, would you pick Keyforge too? Because it's almost the same game, right? It's slightly better than Magic, in my opinion, but it's very similar in as far as what we would argue.
For a game to play, I would play Keyforge over Star Realms.
Yeah. Okay. I'd be the same way. If this was instead Keyforge against Star Realms would still lose to Keyforge because of that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hope I didn't upset anybody with Star Realms that I argued for Magic. It's not going to get much farther, to be honest.
Just so you know, it's his fault.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll take the blame for this. So we're going to take a very quick pause as we get ready for our semifinals. Welcome back to our Top 8 debates. Top 8 2-player games. Semifinals.
Oh, man, that was a tough quarterfinals. Oh, boy.
It was just because of that last one.
Last one hurt.
The Magic Star Realms argument, we both agree begrudgingly, but we both agree on it. Whereas Jaipur and Targi is such a close game. I wish that they were spaced farther apart because they'd both climb up.
Yeah, and just remember, Magic the Gathering moving on, it's Daniel's fault over there.
That's fine. All right. So our first one, we have our first seed versus our number 7 seed. Seven Wonders
Duels and Onitama. Ooh, this is gonna be it's a 4-5 all over again.
Yeah. I mean, I know which one I like better, but it's just barely.
Same with me. I know which one I like better, but it's just barely.
Cool.
And then a 4 seed, 6 seed.
Magic the Gathering versus Jaipur.
It's reversed. Jaipur is the actual 4 seed, just so everybody out there.
Yes. Yeah, that's just how I wrote it down. All right, cool. So, do you want to take 7 Wonders or Onitama?
I argued 7 Wonders Duel the last time, so I'll let you have it this time, and I'll take Onitama. I actually love both these games.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's no doubt that Onitama has a similar presence to that of chess. So ease of play, it's familiar, it's not AP prone nearly as much as 7 Wonders Duel is. I think 7 Wonders is more immersive, personally.
Yeah.
So I think those go to that easily.
So when we go down to replay value, both of them have expansions. I think 7 Wonders Duel has 2.
Yes.
And then I think Onitama has 1 right now, and that's the wind one.
Yep. Yeah.
So
no, Onitama has 2.
Yeah, I only know the wind one. I thought there was a second one. I just couldn't remember what it is.
There is. I had to think about it. And really, that doesn't change the game much. One of the expansions, not the wind one, the other one, is just 16 more cards. There's just movement. So, I mean, their replay value would go to 7 Wonders because not only does it change that, it adds more buildings, it adds more variability, it adds more modules that you can make new, interesting decisions with. Whereas Onitama is just like, okay, well, you still played... With that first expansion, you played effectively the exact same game, just you have a couple different movement cards that are different. That's the only difference in those. So, replay...
This one's tough for me. Honestly, I think pieces and components would go to Onitama, but I really love the art and the design the same way 7 Wonders Duel works. So just for that alone, I would give art and production to 7 Wonders Duel because the way the design works fits it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the art in both, but like I would say art would go to Onitama. Pieces and components. Well, I mean, we would have to call that a wash. Onitama and Seven Wonders Duel, the art, they're both really good in their own way. Like, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. But no, actually, I would give it to Seven Wonders, and here's why. Every card has a piece of art.
And not just that. Yeah. When I'm talking about the design, how you build those cards is very important in Seven Wonders Duel, the way the pyramid goes. Because in the first round, it's built one way. In the second round, it's built a different way. So the uniqueness of the way the cards are coming up. And in the, the third round, it's built a completely other different way. So that's what I really like about it. When I'm talking about design, that's part of the design. That's how you got to lay it out.
Yeah, the board layout and like how it works. I'm talking graphic design for art and production, not so much function design. But like the design on Onitama, the cards are very clear. The way we described
design for it, we didn't just say graphic design. We just said how the design works for the game.
Right. Yeah. How well it implements. How well the graphic design explains how the game is supposed to be played. Because this is under art and production, not gameplay. This is just on how well it works. And
it's part of the graphic design. It's it has a whole thing on the page how to set it up.
Right. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's we're agreeing, but we're saying different things, right? Because Onitama really does need that graphic design icon and showing how it moves. It's like the same graphic design as on the Duke. It really needs that in order to function well. So the design kind of leads more towards that on that epic. But that's not to say that the icons don't. They're super clear on Seven Wonders. You have War, that's clear. You have Sciences, that's very clear what those are. All the other icons, like of the pieces and stuff, they're very clear, easy to see, understandable.
Well, and if you're going the graphic design too, it's not just that. The way the cards are designed, you have your yellow ones, which are your economical cards. You have your red ones, which are your war cards. You have your green ones, which, by the way, as someone who's colorblind, I can tell the red and green apart. I love that.
Finally. Thank you, Seven Wonders.
And then you got your brown ones, which are your production cards. So right there, if you don't see anything, like sometimes you have to look up close because they're smaller cards. But just from a distance, you could say, okay, that's a red card, so that's a war card. That's green, so that's going to go with science. Maybe we want to concentrate on that.
Sure.
Blue ones are your works of building architecture, work of art, stuff like that. So that's really well. That's why I say the design would work.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree. So art and design goes to that. So 1 point each. 2 points for Seven Wonders for immersion.
Yeah. And here comes the hard one.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
Replayability.
Replay value and art production goes to Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
Ease of play, Onitama.
Hands down.
Meaningful choice in game immersions.
So game immersion is non-existent in Onitama as far as theme matching mechanism. It doesn't make sense with what you're doing. I mean, technically, I can kind of see people doing a weird move, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style, but really,
it's basically a simpler, more unique version of chess.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Seven Wonders Duel, it does feel like you're building these giant pantheons,
wonders and stuff like that, and getting the resources for it.
The drafting thing, while necessary, doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but everything else does.
So interacting with other players.
And this is for immersion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which one are we going to more likely talk about? You took this, or you did this to me, or whatever.
I'm going to give that one to Seven Wonders Duel as well.
Agreed.
Just for the simple fact that, again, and I know this is going into the other one where it's impacting the other players, but you see that Danny over there is going for war. He's needs 3 more war things to push it all the way for him to win and outright win the game.
Yeah.
I don't need the other 3 cards in this line. There is that 1 war card. It's my turn. I could use some gold. I'm going to go ahead and trash that.
Right,
and
exactly.
Then Danny's going to be like, you son of a...
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. And then memorable moments, that kind of plays into the same idea. Is that I'm okay with games that you live in your head. I'm not going to lie.
I've had more talk the table afterward moments with Seven Wonders Duel than I ever have with Onitama.
Cool. That works for me. So does that mean Seven Wonders goes on? Am I counting it wrong or no?
Yeah, it's 3. Even if the meaningful choice goes to Onitama,
which I do think it does.
Impacting other players, long-term strategy,
yes.
I think the only one that Seven Wonders Duel would win out of that one is the long-term strategy, because I can affect your long-term strategy, but also it can affect my long-term strategy if I decide to hate draft.
Okay, I don't disagree with that.
There is arbitrary choices in Seven Wonders Duel because it's the way the cards are laid out.
Yep. Okay, cool. So then that means Seven Wonders goes on. All right. That was fairly civil.
Not like last time.
Not like last time. All right, Magic the Gathering versus Jaipur.
Oh, this is going to be hard.
So Jaipur moves on. And,
all right, let's look at this realistically.
Yeah, realistically.
He's a play we would give to Jaipur.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a much simpler game. Magic, the only way I could see getting to the table is that because everybody knows Magic the Gathering.
Well, now also AP prone though.
I've had more AP prone in Magic the Gathering than I ever had in Jaipur, because it's either you do this or you take this or you do this. Magic Gathering is like, okay, he's got that out there, he's got that over there, I got this in my hand, do I want to do something over here, do I play this, do I tap this? I've had a lot more issues with that, and the same thing with Keyforge, is trying to make sure you're making the optimal move.
Okay, that's fair. Alright, so then ease of play does go to Jaipur then. Art and production. Magic.
See, here's my thing. Yeah, the card quality is really nice and the thing, but I mean, Jaipur does a really nice thing too.
Yeah, it's fine for what it is.
Especially if you get the newer one with Vincent Dutray art.
Right, but I'm saying like also on top of it, like Magic the Gathering has the art hands down, and the components they set the
so much.
Yeah, the components stand up. I could shuffle a deck from the '90s just as well as shuffle a deck from anywhere else. The components, sure, it has cardboard tokens and whatnot for Jaipur.
Hey, Jaipur has that metal coin.
And they have a metal coin, right? But, Magic also pretty much invented spin down counters, spin down D20s. And that's not to say I'm not going to include all of the external stuff that you can do. That made sleeves a meaningful thing to have in games.
You know what else it made really big too?
What?
Game mats. Player mats.
Yep. Exactly, it did. And so much to the point, you need a way to track life, right? Yeah. And so the spin downs are a great one. They sell counters for it. They sell a lot of different options. Playmats even have spots where you can keep track of life. I think components would go to Magic.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that one.
Yeah. And then the design, it's tried and true.
Yeah. Replay value. That's Magic the Gathering.
Yes. So
just on expandability alone.
But meaningful choices.
Again, for me, meaningful choices has to go to Jaipur.
Yes.
That's all it is meaningful choices.
Yeah, it's 100% meaningful choice. So now it's down to immersion. 2 and 2. So
theme matching mechanism, that's a wash to both of them. They don't really match what they're doing.
No, but I feel okay. So the theme in Jaipur is you're trading commodities in the Middle East. I think the theme
comes out a little bit more in Magic, just because you are personally the Planeswalker bringing these things out to fight the other Planeswalker, if you want to go that route.
I feel it's a stronger theme, but I don't feel it because your deck is your spell book, right?
Yeah.
It's I'm a Grandmaster Planeswalker. I know how to cast these spells, but only at the right time. Arbitrarily, I will get these spells that I can cast. Haha. Showed you. I shuffled my deck better, therefore I'm a better wizard. That makes no sense. Where everything, you have supply and demand, and you are trading in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, to be truthfully honest, and this is me taking the complete bias out of this, because you know how I feel about Magic. I think the theme fits the mechanism more, because you are getting your spells, you are trying to set up your spells, you're trying to get your creatures out, you're trying to fight another spell player. In Jaipur, you could put any theme on that, and it's still another set collection game. The theme is coming out when you're playing Magic the Gathering. I'm a wizard fighting another wizard. Right. Doesn't necessarily mean the design is better, but again, if the way you did it in the last argument is you took that out, because we're not arguing that part. We're talking about if the theme comes out based on the mechanism itself. And again, Jaipur, you could put something else and still make it a set collection game, and it will still work.
Yeah.
And you could take out trading in the mechanism and make it native tribes trading fur skins.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's begrudgingly, I agree with you. What about player interaction and memorable moments? That's Magic. Both of them.
I have to say this, as much as I hate to say it, and I think it's going to make it move on, is memorable moments has to go to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the following it has. And you were saying the tournaments, they live stream a lot of those tournaments, like on YouTube and stuff like that. And the way people react. And it's not just watch or playing the game. The memorable moments of the people watching said game.
Right.
They get into it because just like any professional sports team, each player is going to have their fan, and they're going to like the way they play the game. And to me, that's going to make more memorable moments than say something like a Jaipur where you're again playing 2 out of 3 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
arguing a game that I don't like the community and using a community argument for it.
Yeah, because you understand it. Like, we had a sour community, but there's a reason it's such an impactful game even after 20-something years.
You also got to look at it this way, too. Magic the Gathering, as much as I don't want it to go on, it started a lot of things. Your CCGs, your LCGs, your card games in general, that are outside of, like, trick-taking bicycle card games like Pinochle or Cribbage or stuff like that, where it's a card game with theme on it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, then there we go. Magic the Gathering beats Jaipur. Oh, I never thought I would say that.
I didn't want to say it either.
Yeah, it moves on, though. In all fairness, it moves on. So that means that Magic the Gathering will be facing Seven Wonders duel
in the finals.
So we're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to move on to
before we go,
finale.
Jaipur was our third best vote getter at 21.
Yep.
Magic the Gathering, don't want to say, Onitama was at 4th. So our 2, our 3, and now our 4 are gone.
Yep.
Onitama had 9 votes.
All right. Sounds good. So then we're going to pause right now, and we're going to move on to the finals. And welcome back to the finals of Top 8 Debate Best 2-Player Games. Man, it's been an upset so far.
Oh, God. I don't want it to win.
This is the equivalent, in our opinion, of like the Dallas Cowboys versus the Mighty Ducks at this point. It's not even comparable.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God. It's like what is that movie that had the guy from Married with Children, The Little Giants.
Little Giants.
Where we're the ragtag upstart team going up against the...
You haven't got a chance. We just want to play.
Yeah, it's just...
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Icebox is still one of my favorite football players. All right. I showed that movie to my kids the other day for the first time, and they'd never seen it prior to that. It was like last week, and they loved it. It was so good.
It's a great movie. Mighty Ducks and that one are like some of my... Oh, it's not my favorite. Those are 2 of my favorite back in the day, and I showed them to my nephews when they were younger, and they loved them. Yeah. But my favorite is The Sandlot. That's my jam.
Yeah, Sandlot, absolutely. And speaking of Sandlot, Magic the Gathering versus Seven Wonders.
Yeah, so and speaking of The Sandlot, you got the baseball team versus the ragtag group over here.
Yep. Did you expect Magic at the beginning of this to get this far?
No, I didn't, but we took our bias out of it, and it hurts me to see it. I hope it goes down in this one, but there's just no guarantee. I've been trying to take it down.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they're very reasonable arguments, but you and I both do agree with it. Now, here's the thing, though. With Magic has the art and production, like, a lot of times. That's what's really been pushing it ahead. But, I mean...
I don't think it has it this time.
It's going to be where I feel we'll probably have to call that similar to a wash, if not a wash, because like the art in both of them are phenomenal.
And well, for me, where I think it would lose, and we'll go into it in a little bit, is the design. Again, it goes down that you can notice what those cards are doing just by the color border. So that's an economic card. I want to get that. Is that another card? And then again, when it goes down to the design, if I have this one and I go into Generation 2, if I have that building, I could just take this building without having to pay the resource costs. I have the building that upgrades it in the sense.
Well, that's long-term strategy. That's not graphic design.
But that is graphic design, because it tells you either got to pay these components or if you have this building.
Yeah, it has the matching symbology.
That's graphic design.
Yeah, no, it does. All right, so let's actually get into it then, since we're already arguing. As far as art and production, okay. So production, you have really good quality cards versus pretty good quality cards that are a little small, personally, but that's not too big of a deal. But
it's
then you also
sure it doesn't
have
become a table eater for a two-player game.
Yeah, exactly. You have the science tokens, which I'm going to tell you.
Don't forget that little plastic piece for the war track.
The little board. I'm going to give credit where credit is due here, and I'm going to say Seven Wonders beats component quality, and let me tell you why.
I don't disagree with you, but go ahead.
The day that I'm going to give a bit of an example here. No, I'm not going to get a magic card. Never mind. I was going to dump water on a magic card because, no joke, the day I bought Seven Wonders Duel, I was punching out the science tokens. I put it on top of the box, and I forgot that it was there, and I had somebody hand it to me. The token slipped out into my cup of water. It was super scary. I took them out, let them dry. I can't tell you which ones fell in the water. I have no idea. Where I've seen wet magic cards. Now, this is a completely absurdist idea, right?
But it's good quality of components will last longer.
Good quality of components, and I do agree with you with the graphic design is still better in Seven Wonders because the iconography is fairly clear. You understand what you're doing, whereas Magic, you have 7 icons total. You have one for each of the mana, which makes sense, but then you have tap is an icon. Everything else is written out description.
Yeah. And again, the big rule for me, and I was just saying it earlier, is the design of the cards. Mm-hmm. Because of the border and how good the color is in that game, you could tell which each and every card that's face up does.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so art and production.
Without even looking at it. You could be like, okay, that's an economic card. Now I want to kind of get a closer look at it, see what it does.
Yep. I need to beat him up. Let's go for that red over there.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. Cool. So then Magic the Gathering loses to Seven Wonders Duel for art and production.
Yep.
Do we feel like there's another one that's really... I feel replay value is Magic still. But we'll break it down to make sure.
Length of time and scaling well.
They're both 2 players, so scaling doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then of course, Magic can be played 4 players, but it's a different type of set. So most Magic that everybody knows is me versus you. That's it.
Right. Minimum number. We're on replay value. Minimum number of players for full experience. Magic, hands down.
Yeah.
And then same with additional content. Magic, same thing. All right. So Magic gets replay value. Art and production goes 7 Wonders. Oof. So meaningful choice. I would like to do this one next.
Let's go ahead and just do what we're gonna do. Ease of play goes to Magic the Gathering.
Because of the familiarity and the likelihood of getting it to the table?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. Meaningful choices would go to... Well, let's break it down. Impacting others.
Impacting other players. We've had this argument before. You say Magic.
No, I think it's 7 Wonders.
I agree with you on 7 Wonders because, again, not only... It's not making an arbitrary choice if you take something away from another person. You're not hurting yourself in effect because when you sell that card away from that other person, you're gaining something for it to help you buy something later.
Right. Exactly. And then impacting long term, that goes with that.
Yeah, exactly. So that right there would give meaningful choices to Seven Wonders Duel. Because the only one I would give to Magic Gathering in this category is the arbitrary choices. At times, you're going to be forced to make arbitrary choices in Seven Wonders Duel because just the way the cards are laid out.
Well, but that's... It would still... I would give it to 7 Wonders still on that because if you've played everything in your hand and you're ready to go, you're like, man, I really need a good card. Hey, it's a land. You know.
Okay. Well, anyways, meaningful choice is going to Seven Wonders Duel.
And then immersion, which
we're 2-2 right now.
Is it really?
Yeah. Ease of play, Magic the Gathering. Replay value, Magic the Gathering. Meaningful choice, Seven Wonders. Art and production, Seven Wonders.
Okay. All right. Immersion.
This is the big boy right here. Theme, matching mechanisms.
Okay. Do you feel more in Seven Wonders that you are creating a civilization through the mechanisms versus Magic? Do you feel like you're a spell wizard?
I hate this so much, but I feel the theme comes out more in Magic the Gathering.
I don't though. I know I'm biased.
Make your argument, because I'm willing to trade a change. Don't get me wrong.
It's because the major mechanism that in Magic is that you're drawing cards from the deck, and that means that, like it. If I'm going into like a battle, like let's say I'm trying to prove my innocence, right? And it's like, I am really skilled at swords. I've been practicing swords. Roll a die. You get an arrow. A bow and arrow. Does that count?
I don't disagree with you, Dark Elf. You give someone a deck of Magic cards and ask them to play the game, then give them a different deck, they will be back to square one. But once you teach Seven Wonders, you're done. I get that, but the way we break down ease of play is the simplicity and familiarity of mechanism. For Magic the Gathering, they play a card, they're good. They just have to relearn the cards. That doesn't go...
Yeah.
We don't have that in ease of play. And then likely to get to the table, we give that one to Magic as well, because that's most likely. Everybody knows Magic. They'll be like, oh, I'm willing to try that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then AP prone... It can be a lot of AP in Seven Wonders.
Seven Wonders, yeah.
Whereas Magic, you just kind of play with what you got, and then
what is the game of Magic that you like to play with your friend? And I think that's a really simple way to play it.
Pack poker. Yeah, we just each buy one pack and then play it out once, or play it out best of three actually. Same normal Magic. We get 2 of each color land plus 1 of our choice. That's it.
Yeah, so it's a real simple way to play it.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't disagree with you, Dark Elf. But by our criteria, that's what we have to do.
Yeah. But theme matching mechanism, though, talking about Seven Wonders, I really do feel like you are getting quarries, you are getting mines, you're getting the clay, you're getting the wood, you're getting these resources to build these massive civilization-based structures later on. And it makes sense. Like, if I have a bathhouse, I'm going to be able to get like a big aqueduct, or an aqueduct. I can make a bathhouse later on. That really does feel like, I mean, it's a very simplified version of it, but that mechanism of whatever I'm taking, whatever I'm focusing on, whether it's structure or infrastructure versus military might versus sciences, then that feels like that makes more sense as far as the overall theme is that you're building a civilization. So let's say like, and that each of the 3 ways to win, sure, if you're building up your civilization, it's the most points, whoever is the most influential, right? Whereas you have the military, whoever is edged more on military, you can just steamroll over everybody else because you have an insanely powerful army. Whereas even the sciences, like, well, our dudes are so smart that, like, once you've gotten past the echelon, I'm running a Windows computer, you're still making fire in a cave, you know? Like, it's not even comparable. I feel like those mechanisms do make more sense than, I am a prepared battle wizard, I'm drawing a deck, I got another land, yay.
Hit3, thank you for joining us, and he says, mechanically, your deck is in Magic is your long-term memory, your hand is your short-term memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you use these things, to cast spells and summon monsters, etc.
Yeah. Let me ask.
I have to say, though, I don't disagree with Ithri, but you just won me over because when you brought up the military track in the science track, those do fit thematically as well.
Right. So let's ask the people here, because this is going to be a really deep argument, I feel. Or not argument, but like a really strong debate. Ithri, Canadian, Dark Elf, anybody who's with us still, what are your thoughts? What do you feel that the theme matches the mechanisms more? Do you feel that Magic, being a spell wizard, makes more sense? That's interesting what Ithri brought up, that it's your short-term, long-term memory, but would you be, I mean, would you, if you're just drawing nothing but lands, does that mean that you're just dumb? Like, you just don't remember all your training? Like,
okay, I know I need this land for something, but what? What do I need it for?
Yeah, like, I know I packed my bag full of these blue vials of ether here.
Thanks, Ithri, for putting, and you too, for putting Mel Brooks in my head about how...
Yeah.
I get to see Mel Brooks, man, what do I need this land for?
Yeah, right? So, I'm curious to see what their thoughts are. My aim really would be Seven Wonders. It feels like you're building a civilization.
You turned me over to Seven Wonders Duel, but let's see what they say. Maybe they can convince me back to Magic the Gathering, or vice versa. But let's move on to, while we wait for what they're saying here, to interacting with other players in a memorable sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and you use those things to know how... Okay, cool. So, memorable moments, I feel, would go to Magic.
Yeah, memorable moments goes to Magic, hands down. Again, it goes to the community thing that we were talking about. Interacting with other players.
Yeah, interacting with other players.
To me personally, I play both these games. It would be Seven Wonders Duel, because it goes along the lines where you take that military away from me. You see him going for military, you're like, nope.
Yeah.
And so I get those memorable moments. Right. If the one time I actually won with the military track, I almost jumped out of my seat because that was the first time I've ever seen it actually be successful. Right. And it's just because I forced, I was playing against Bryce at the time, I forced Bryce into a corner where he had to take a card which freed a military, which allowed me to get that last one.
Yeah, and I can imagine your face as you reached over and you pulled that card to Jeff, and you're like, your move, sir. And he's like, God. Where, like, on the flip side, in Magic, in Interaction, that came up with the turn Swing with All. Like, I just remember, like me just looking down at my tableau, it's like, all right, you have a little bit of life, you have a few creatures, I'm just going to turn all of my cards sideways and just sit back. As you're like, wait, but if I do this, I can block this guy with this, and that would stop this, but do I have that? There is some fun interaction, but I feel mostly you're taken out of the immersion, because building up to that point, like, there could be full games of it where you are just
where nobody's talking, Yeah,
where nobody's talking, and you're like, all right, I'll just do this. You're just running through the motions. Like,
I think with Seven Wonders Duel, it forces that table talk, that interaction, that arguing with one another, to the point where you're pulling. When you pull a card and your buddy goes, "You son of a god! I was trying for that one." Or when you sell something they're trying for, you're like, "I don't need any of these cards. I want a coin. I know you're going for that, so let me sell this one because you can't have it now."
Right. Exactly. And then even like the uncertainty of like the cards face down, you're like, oh man, I know if he gets another military and I flip over this card into military, oh no, please don't. Like that's a very,
to me, that the game immersion, interacting with the other player, I feel it more coming out of Seven Wonders. I've played games of Magic the Gathering, and I've played games of Keyforge too, and I equate Keyforge a lot to Magic the Gathering. Quiet. It's just where I'm sitting.
Yeah, you just simply played your deck better.
Okay, I did this. I hit you for that. That thing's dead. Okay, we're done.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There can be less table talk. Not to say that there will always be more or less. There can be.
All right. So Ithri says, and you use those things to know cast spells and summon monsters, and he adds, Magic makes more sense. I'm literally casting spells and summoning monsters to fight the opponent. In Seven Wonder, I'm playing cards to build a civilization, but all the cards stack, so I don't see anything. Just symbols, and playing cards have no impact. Playing a card in Seven Wonders gets me symbols that get me more symbols later. Playing a card in Magic, I do a cool thing, or summon a monster that stays there and has cool art I can see. Cards in Seven Wonders Seven Wonders don't do anything.
That's a solid argument.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel they're both super thematic as far as to what they're trying to do and why they do it.
Okay.
And they both have shortcomings as well. Would you be okay with calling that a wash, then?
I will. Yeah, no. It's going to force us to go to tiebreaker.
Which is good.
Oh, no. Because it's 1-1 memorable moments and interacting in the wash. So, yeah, it would go to tiebreaker.
Yep. Which means, which one has the most votes? I know we're both, like, kind of stalling a little bit just to see if anybody says anything else.
Yeah.
But Ithri brings up some really solid points.
Yeah, right. He makes great points. So let's go ahead and call it. And do you want to guess which one has more votes?
I already know.
Okay. So the number one game in BGG was also the number one game in our poll, and is also the number one game in my heart in a Seven Wonders duel.
Oh, how sappy!
47 points.
Yeah, votes. Yeah.
Yeah, 47 votes on it compared to Magic the Gathering's 8.
8. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Magic went that high up. It really did.
Yeah.
And it really does have that tie, but oh man, yeah, we had to go with the players.
Yeah.
We had to go with the
And I think a big part of it too, for Magic the Gathering, the reason why it doesn't get love in the modern board gaming community is because of the Magic the Gathering community. Yes. A lot of people who got into board gaming for tiebreak, Magic the Gathering isn't a 2-player game only, so it would lose. Dark Elf adds that.
Well done, Dark Elf. I like that.
I do like that one. That was a good one. But yeah, so for me, I don't disagree with him on that one.
Yeah, that's a solid point.
But I think a big part of it, and that's the reason why I'm not a big Magic the Gathering fan, is the community. Yeah. As well as the community's there, it also hurts itself. Even war cards. You go to war phase, check symbols, and loser gets some negative numbers. I don't take damage or lose resources or anything. What's the penalty to losing war? Some victory points? We're talking about Seven Wonders duel, I3, not Seven Wonders itself.
No, he's the same thing though. Like you don't get penalized in Seven Wonders duel. If you get like your war track up to a certain point, then you get victory points, but you don't lose anything. Like like what is that compared? Like you lose some army people.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's really unthematic. That's a valid point. Yeah.
Well, we already called it though.
No, but I mean that still pushes it towards that pushes it towards the wash, like how we had it anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I think a big detractor for Magic the Gathering and modern board gamers is a lot of them played back in the day, but the community sometimes is not very inclusive, especially when it comes to women.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part. Like my wife did not feel comfortable around any of those Magic the Gathering people.
Yeah.
And there was a big issue with theft too in our community.
Yep.
Here in town.
And it's all unfortunate, but like at the same time, they're getting better at it. So yeah. we have a couple Magic the Gathering shops here in town, and we have our comic shop, which is where I source my games out of. And I've always felt more comfortable with the board game community than I have with Magic, and that's being an ex-Magic player. And I still play it from time to time. I still love the game. In fact, I bought I don't know if it's up here. Yeah, Unsanctioned. I just bought that a couple months ago. And I still love the game, and I'm still gonna play it. But I mean, you're right with that community. It's rough. It's getting better. They're working to fix it, but thankfully, with board gaming, which I feel is most of our viewers, there's much less of that stigma.
Yeah, they're policing it out. That's the thing. They're trying to be more inclusive. They're trying to get that negativity out of that space. And again, like I said, our own shop that we used to go to before the pandemic, they police it very well. They're all about being inclusive. Don't be rude to other players.
Yep.
And they almost dropped the ban-hammer a couple times.
Yep, and we've had to because we wholeheartedly agree with that. So, with that being said, this has been one heck of a debate. Seven Wonders duel. Yep. I would have loved to see it go up against Jaipur, though.
Oh, I would have too. That would have been a tough one. But
do you wanna work the hypothetical real quick?
We've already hit 2 hours. Let's do that off.
All right, sounds good. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Coming up on Monday, we're going to have an interview with John D. Clare, if everything goes as planned. Next Wednesday, which will be the 15th of July, we're going to be talking about games that should get more love. What are some games that don't get talked about that you think need to?
No, I don't disagree. I love that one. I have all my games. I got 3 honorable mentions, and the 3 games I think need more love. I even have their BGG ranking to prove they don't get a lot of love.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wow. I haven't gone that far yet,
and then
but I will.
Stick with us on stream. We'll decide what our next top 8 debate will be for next Friday.
All right. And, of course, if you want to watch the re-uploads of this, go to youtube.com/everydayboardgamespace2020, right? Isn't it?
No, because we can't make a private URL yet. So it's search Everyday Board Games 2020 on YouTube.
Okay, and then watch us live at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
You can also listen to the audio versions off Podbean at Everyday Board Games Podcast. You can also get in contact with us on Twitter at EBG Podcast 2020, and everything we've talked about, the links are in the pinned tweet on Twitter.
And if you want to email us directly, it's everydayboardgames@gmail.com, 2020@gmail.com. Yep, sorry about that.
We're going to have to get a script for this.
Yeah, we are. This is getting ridiculous at this point. We have like 40 things. And of course, if you want to join in on the votes, go to Board Game Revolution group at Facebook. It's the board game group that we post right now. And if you ever want to watch us live and join in on the discussion now, like Dark Elf and Ithri did, then please do so, because we always love to have you guys on. And Canadian as well. Canadian Collector. Yeah. They all joined us. They're awesome people. And we love the back and forth. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Top 8 Debate.
Alrighty.
You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe.
Have a good one.